Welcome to the Humans of Hospitality podcast with me, Mark Cribb, and this is another COVID-19 special edition where I'm dipping in and chatting to a previous guest about how the pandemic is impacting their business. And today we're chatting to Andrew Stembridge from iconic luxury hotels, one of which is the very beautiful Chewton Glen, where Andrew was based, not quite alone, but certainly very quiet when we recorded this conversation. And it's worth noting a couple of things. One is the audio is a little bit echoey where we were recording remotely, but it gets better after the first couple of minutes, and also dated slightly in the fact that Boris Johnson was in hospital when we were having this conversation, and I'm pleased to say that he is now out, but it was only a few days ago, so everything is still very much relevant. Interesting to hear from Andrew about the sort of initial implications of the pandemic, particularly when a lot of people were booking some of their country residents, like the Chewton Glen, to escape the city, and they were getting maybe 4 to 6 weeks kind of bookings from people, and whether they were going to be able to survive the crisis through such a solution. But obviously not long after that they got closed down completely. We chat a little bit about some of the implications of running big sort of stately home hotels, such as, you know, running water and maintaining the grounds, and some of the complexities about how do you actually shut down these big buildings that really never sit empty. The challenge of all of a sudden your PDQ machines processing refunds instead of receipts. We chat about how maybe we come out of this, and will there be a domestic tourism bounce, and also some novel ideas about how they're keeping in touch with over 800 of their furloughed teams through social media, and even Andrew getting a haircut. Okay, I very much hope you enjoy the conversation. If you can, please support us at patreon.com/humans of hospitality. That's where you can help keep this podcast on the air, since I used to pay for it through my bar and restaurant business down in Bournemouth, which is all closed, so I would appreciate your support even more than ever. Okay, enjoy the chat. Andrew Stembridge, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. For those who didn't listen yet to our last chat, you're from iconic luxury hotel group. Can you just explain a little bit for people who they are and what your role is, please?
Yeah, so I, as you say, Andrew Stembridge, Iconic Luxury Hotels. I'm the executive director, and that comprises of 4, well, I was going to say open hotels, but they're currently closed. So that's Chewton Glen, Cliveden House, the Ligon Arms, and then 11 Cadogan Gardens in London, in Chelsea. And then we've got a new property which was due to open in September of this year, but suspect delayed now, called the Mayfair Townhouse. So, quite a sort of eclectic mix of properties, but all very smart addresses. And I suppose that the common link is our people, and our iconic people who really bring the hotels to life and make them special for our guests.
Yeah, they are incredible venues. Are you at one of them at the moment, Andrew? Or?
Yeah, I am. I'm at Chewton Glen, so I'm part of a skeleton team, and more than just insurance requirements, we have to keep a presence in the hotels. And as I'm live local to Chewton Glen, I sort of volunteered to be part of the team coming into the hotel, and really just keeping things running, and keeping checking on everything that needs to be checked on, and answering the phone as well. Which I have switched off for a few minutes anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so I'm based at Chewton Glen, and it's very weird. It's very.
I was going to say that must be very surreal at the moment.
Well, yeah, you always, it's one of these things you always sort of not wish is the wrong word, but you always imagine what, you often say that, gosh, running hotels would be easy if we had no staff or guests. And actually, that isn't the case. It's surprising how much there is still to, even in the absence of guests, it's surprising how much there is still to do, and the problems still arise. And of course, we still, even though we've furloughed the vast majority of our team, we're still, but they're still our team. They're still employed, and that obviously there's a duty there for us. So it is very surreal sitting here.
Yeah, because it's a huge place. I mean, it was a couple hundred acres outside as well. You must have seen nature sort of. I guess there it's pretty quiet anyway. But are you seeing more sort of deer and birds and stuff wandering past your window? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're lucky. I mean, like you, we're on the south coast anyway, and we don't have a great, there never seem to be that many planes flying overhead, and nor is there. I mean, certainly on the estate that much traffic. So we're always lucky that there's a lot of wildlife, and very much encouraged by certain activities to encourage plenty of wildlife. But definitely we've got some pheasants that are more um,
Relaxed.
they've become braver. They've definitely become
Yeah.
braver, and the deer. And it's just I think you notice them more because there's not there's no other sort of noise, as it were. And what I certainly is definitely there's a sort of there's an air of, I think, peace and tranquility everywhere. And I probably have to be careful how I say everywhere, because I'm sure if you're in the hospitals at the moment, it's far from it. It's frenetic, but certainly over most of the country, there's sort of this strange sort of quiet, which is quite unusual and really quite appealing in some respects.
Yeah, I think it would be an absolutely wonderful place to come and see. It's a lovely place anyway, but particularly when it's empty. So we're going to chat specifically around the coronavirus and how you're managing that and the impact it had. And I was interested to know, I was chatting to Kate Nichols from UK Hospitality a few days ago, and she was pointing out that they'd had a sort of early warning where they were representing the UK hospitality, but they had a lot of their big hotel groups had properties around the world, and actually they spotted what was coming probably a lot quicker than other people, because they could see occupancy rates dropping globally, and then London probably getting hit sooner than the rest of the country. I just wondered what your experience was. When did it become clear to you that coronavirus was going to have a big impact on the business?
I must admit, I think, and I don't know. I think, I don't know if we were probably a little bit not naive, but I think we were very aware of it. But I think what happened was, I think as sort of people in London started to sort of, I guess, react, a lot of them, their initial reaction was, let's get out of town. So we actually saw almost a business pick up immediately because of it, because people were sort of desperate to. I think there was a combination of people thinking there might be a lockdown, in which case they wanted to go and do something. They wanted to eat out. It was amazing how people suddenly started sort of almost drinking more expensive wine and champagne all of a sudden. And also people wanting to escape. So we had some people booking tree houses for 30 nights, and people booking spring cottage at Clifton for 6 weeks and things like that. So we had those types of inquiries, which we thought, oh well, maybe there'll be an opportunity here for us to carry on. And I think where we were, I'd say, I mean, possibly naive, and was that actually we really thought we're gonna be able to carry on and stay open through this. And that we would, clearly we knew there was going to be an effect and an impact, and we knew that business, international travel was going to be affected, corporate travel was going to be affected. So we'd already put a plan in place. We'd already agreed with our entire team that all of us were going to take a 50% sort of reduction in salaries, and obviously for some people that would be a 50% reduction in their working time, and obviously probably for some people in management that was just a cut, and just one of those sacrifices that one makes. But anyway, as I say, then very quickly after we'd sort of made that sort of decision and agreed with the team that was going to happen, and they were great. They were very happy that with those decisions. And then by, I think that was probably on the Thursday or Friday, and then by the Monday night, the decision that hotels were going to have to close was made by the government. So and that, obviously that, and then we had to cancel lots of bookings, and that was very hard for people. And actually, even with the government announcements, people were quite surprised that we were phoning them and saying, "You can't come. I'm really sorry." And it was really hard. And obviously that coincided just before the Mother's Day weekend, which for us, was a huge weekend. And we had, and there was a combination. Some people just assumed they weren't going to be able to come, but even still, we were phoning people, and they still had every intention of coming still. So it felt it was hard on a number of levels, because you kind of, from a moral duty perspective, it kind of, there was this element of saying, look, should we are we putting our staff at risk by doing this? But they were all sort of consenting. They were all happy to do it, and obviously we'd at a very early stage put all the measures in place about everyone being even more hygienic than usual, etc., etc. But then we kind of felt like we were almost stealing people's enjoyment away from them, and then maybe they thought that Mother's Day was going to be that final sort of time they would be together, and possibly for some the final time ever, and it's quite hard. You're kind of actually intercepting, and it's quite an emotional time on a number of levels. So it was difficult, and it's sort of the way it's all evolved and unfolded, and the way we're sort of living it, it's still very much, I from our perspective, still unfolding today.
Yeah, I think you're right. That moral kind of dilemma, I don't think we're used to that in hospitality. We're such a business which is all about connecting people, and anniversaries and Mother's Day and birthdays and all that kind of stuff. We live in a very positive environment and positive world, and only normally do things to make other human beings happy. And I shared that sort of conundrum, I suppose, as each day the advice was changing, and the speed that we were having to make decisions and then change those decisions. Yeah. But this moral backdrop to it all was unusual. So for us, we over the first weekend we kept the takeaway open on the seafront as well. Just as much as anything, as a sort of sense of community, so that people could, if they were going out and getting their exercise, grab a cup of coffee or a slice of pizza. But it was the first sunny weekend we'd had for months, as I'm sure you'll be aware of as well, the irony. And we got absolutely slammed on the seafront. And the second day we put in a lot of measures with drawing lines for the queue and making sure that people kept their distance. And then by Monday night, same as you guys, I guess, we just thought, right, we'll just close completely, which will make it easier. Had you seen it approach at all? Because you've got property in London as well. Had the occupancy rates, I can absolutely understand how people would have thought, get to the country and booking for 6 weeks would have made perfect sense. Do you have more sort of Chinese guests coming into your London properties, and had that dropped, or were they pretty stable right up until the last minute?
No, I mean, London, we saw a much quicker decline, and actually that was the one, and I say, although the sort of the provincial properties we were determined to try and stay open. London, we knew at a very early stage we were going to have to close, and that was literally the difference there was just cancellations were coming in, and there was no new bookings whatsoever, and so that was very sort of quick to happen, and as I say, and that was a very, very quick decline in bookings at probably not quite as early as maybe, again, we're very much touched, as the sort of hospitality community is very much that. It's a community. We all talk to each other. We all share stories. We all help each other, and so we were very much in touch with what was happening in really the sort of the heart of London, and Chelsea's just, obviously it's still the heart of London, but just slightly on the periphery. And I think I know sort of very, very central London felt it first, and then it starts to spill out. And also the type of business we do. Obviously we have a lot of leisure business in Chelsea, probably more so than so I think the sort of the corporate world was hit first, without question.
Okay, and that sort of period between, I think it was when Boris came out on the Tuesday and said, right, all the public should stop visiting restaurants and bars, and then it wasn't until the following sort of Monday when we were completely locked down. But I think it was the Friday that Rishi came out with his sort of job retention scheme. How did you find that period? Had you recognised once Boris said don't go to restaurants and bars? It hit home, pretty hard to me that we were going to be in a very challenging position. Obviously, the hotel is less of our business, but particularly around the impact on our team and the level of people that we might have to lay off. did you go through a period before the job retention scheme kicked in where you thought you might have to lose a lot of people, or did the retention scheme kick in first?
Well, I think the strange thing being hotels, and again, this is where we were, where certainly the initial guidance was restaurants and bars, and it actually it didn't cover, and it was only the week after that it actually was specific about even hotel restaurants. So there was a period of time where we actually operated for a couple of days where we were taking no non-residents, but we were actually feeding the people staying in the hotel. And we'd applied, we'd moved the tables wider apart. We were encouraging people to eat in their rooms, but there was no. And I think that probably, and I mean personally, I think the government have done a great job during the crisis. I really do. I think hats off to them, it's so. I'm probably the first to criticize, but I do think they've made a lot of good decisions. But I think at this point, because it was all unfolding, the guidance was being sort of drip fed out, and obviously they thought it was covering everything, and it wasn't. Absolutely, we were. We were sort of making it really up as we went along. And as I say, so we were for a while operating, or for a couple of days operating, as I say, still feeding people, because that seemed to be okay to do it. And that's where we came up with this decision that we said to the whole team, look, we think we can keep everyone on, but if everyone drops down to 50%, and we basically were modelling heavily reduced occupancies, but if everyone went down to 50% salary, then we thought we could actually just about break even on that, or actually just run a sort of a relatively small loss in comparison, and that was based on us still obviously having business coming in the door. So, but it's amazing. I mean, the team are great, because they were all like, yeah, we're as long as we can keep our jobs, then we'll do anything, we'll do all that it takes. And you've got some people who will say, look, I'm happy to take some unpaid leave because their circumstances allowed them to do that. Some people were using up holiday, some people were using up loo time. So there were ways around it, but actually the commitment from everybody, say, look, we want to protect the business, but we also want to protect all our jobs. And it was great to see that how the sort of, again, that family spirit really kicks in.
Yeah, no, we'd done the same actually. We'd asked our team, certainly the sort of salary team, could they just go off and work out what they needed to live on? If they delayed their mortgages, if they cut everything they could, come back with a number, and the number pretty much was about 40%. That they could cope with. They could cope with a 40% pay cut, and that was our plan. And then it became clear that even that was going to be challenging. And the retention scheme coming at 80%, felt by then that felt like a pay rise for them all. So they
absolutely.
they were really pleased.
Yeah.
How many people do you employ across the group, and how many have now been furloughed then?
It's over. It's sort of, I think, roughly about 850 people across the board, and probably 800 of those have been furloughed. So we have a skeleton team left in each of the hotels, and that sort of consists of a couple of the sort of senior team. Some of them are living in. So Francesco, our general manager at Clifton, he's moved in with his dog. It's Chocolate Lab, and they're on social media. So there's sort of regular posts of what he and the dog are getting up.
That must be very grand. Just him and the dog sat in the dining room having breakfast together. That must be surreal.
And then obviously we've kept on some maintenance, a couple of maintenance people. So there's we've probably got between 6 and 8 people in each of the hotels. For insurance purposes, we keep a couple of people on duty all the time. Obviously, to make sure the hotels are safe and secure, and to check, we have to check around the buildings every hour during the day, and every 2 hours at night. We have to run water in every bath, every loo, every bidet, we have to keep the water running for health and safety reasons. There's all sorts of maintenance. The maintenance issues don't stop. So it's amazing how much there is to do, and the grass still needs to be cut, and because obviously, I suppose we're planning for probably a shorter period, maybe here than maybe some of the London hotels, and that is the $1 million question at the moment, is how long. But I think we kind of feel that we're, based on where we're located, based on our sort of strong markets, we feel that we're going to be in a position to bounce back really quickly. And therefore we kind of almost, we have mothballed the hotels. We had to, but we're trying to keep them in a sort of we're trying to keep them on standby, as it were, so that we can hit the sort of on button again as quickly as possible. So that's why we're trying to keep we're trying to keep as much sort of ticking over, so that, as I say, when we do get the green light from government, that we can, as I say, we can quickly open up again and try and get back to normal.
Yeah. So how far ahead are you cancelling bookings then? Are you literally just leaving them in? Because at the minute, I guess it feels like there's no point unless the customer decides to cancel. You don't know when you're going to be open. So is it almost on a week by week basis?
Well, we did, because we decided to close London first. So we made the decision there to close for 3 months. And then ditto Ligon Arms and Clifton. So we cancelled all the business till the end of let's say where we are,
End of May, probably, is it?
May, yeah, the end of May. But then Chewton, we were about to do the same, and we then suddenly realised, well, hang on here, we at the moment the sort of lockdown is just 3 weeks, and we had really significant amounts of booking, even literally right up to the 11th hour, we were still taking bookings for May bank holiday weekends and things like that. So we thought, well, hang on here, clearly if people phone us and say, can we cancel, that's fine. But if people are happy to sort of bear with us, and why sort of force that situation? Because I'm sure they would rather be, in the sort of front of the queue, as it were, when we reopen, if we can reopen. So at the moment, as it stands, and where we're now, the 8th of April, we've still got a significant amount of bookings at Chewton Glen for the whole of May. And I think we're just gonna, I think, let's see. Obviously we were hoping for more announcements. I think on Monday, obviously that's impacted Boris and poor chap who's in hospital at the moment. So and so that might, I think we're just gonna let's see what happens. But as I say, we are, we're hopeful that restrictions are I think they won't be lifted. I think they'll be loosened, won't they? I think that's what everyone's saying, and I think what it means for us, I'm not entirely sure, but but certainly I guess we're working through it every day, and waiting and seeing, rather than forcing the situation.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk over the sort of the travel side, I suppose, of the business, maybe more than the hotel side, but around people who paid up front and deposits and all that kind of stuff, and whether people can just be given credits rather than being refunded. Are you finding that most people are quite happy to wait and leave the money in the system, or has there been any sort of cash flow challenges of needing to refund a lot of people at the same time?
Yeah, we relaxed all our cancellation policies. So, we had a number of, our cancellation policies for individual guests are very different from, say, a group booking or an event or something. So, obviously, ordinarily a normal leisure booking would be a 48-hour cancellation, whereas a larger, exclusive use booking or a big event booking would be much longer term. So, we've been very relaxed about the whole thing and being fair. As far as people who've paid deposits, we've actually said, look, it's your choice. If you want us to rebook dates now, we will. So some people have said, yeah, push it back till July, August, September. So we've done that with a lot of people. Other people have said, look, just hold our deposit, because we will, as soon as we can, we're going to rebook. And then other people have said, look, we really, we need the money back, or we feel more comfortable having our money back, and we've had to refund that. So, that's been quite not a complicated process, but time consuming. Interesting sort of challenge in that our credit card company aren't used to. They're used to most 99% of transactions going in one direction, not t'other. That's caused us. There's been a big black hole of repayments we've made, which haven't quite found their way to their rightful owners yet. But we're working through that. But as I say, through no fault of our own at our end. But say we're I think people, yes, cash flow is an issue. It's an issue for everybody. We're still paying those 800 people ahead of being able to reclaim anything back. So we do have to be careful. But again, we're a well-established business, and we don't probably have I do feel there's a lot of business owners, but especially I think restaurateurs were having a difficult time already. It was already quite tight, and so I feel sorry for restaurateurs. But certainly, we are having to keep an eye on cash flow, and that's what we're spending a lot of time every day managing, because everyone's in the same boat. We've got travel agents who've booked business with us, and they have commission payments. We're having to look after them. We're obviously trying to protect all our suppliers as well. So but actually we've found that everyone's been really communicative and really understanding as well. I think people have been very very flexible, and I think everyone realizes that we all need each other after this, and therefore actually we can't afford for anyone to go out of business because of this. So actually we are, so I think everyone's worked really well together, and I think that's really, really positive.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be different, I guess, at your sort of scale and level of investment. You must be secure, definitely in my sector, the restaurateurs. But I think if I just look sort of wider than just on a personal level, the timings of this, as we came out of a very tough winter, lots of storms hitting the country, but certainly hitting the coastline down here in the southwest. So many hospitality businesses and hotels hang on for dear life over the winter and then make all of their cash over the summer to get through next winter. Although we don't know the answer to this question of reopening, I think we're all presuming that it's more likely to be sort of June, July time than before that. Do you think there's an inevitability that a lot of the hospitality sector in those sort of tourism towns will end up folding off the back of what's been a challenging couple of years anyway?
I'm sure. Sadly, I think it probably is inevitable, and I think because I suspect, but know that some were already on the brink anyway, and we'd already seen some of the sort of the high street restaurant chains really struggling or folding already. So I think it is inevitable, sadly. I do think we will be really lucky in sort of out of towns in the UK, because I think people aren't going to, whether they're able to or not. I think they're going to, when we come out of it, there's so much pent up demand for people to get away, and whether it's celebrations they won't be able to have, or just generally getting together with friends and family, and so I think people will be very, very quick and I know there are concerns about people that maybe are affected financially and therefore won't have the funds, but I think on the whole, people will be desperate to go and eat and drink and support their local restaurants and bars and hotels. And so I think it will bounce back quickly if people can survive. And I do think the government have, I know there's some criticism about not enough and not soon enough, but I do think I think in terms of the scale of the problem, I think they have done a lot, and I think it will enable a lot of restaurants to survive. And I think if they can, again, if they've, like you, got teams who are, they want to, I think everyone's, I think the difference is on this occasion that people need to make it work. They haven't really got anywhere else to go, and therefore everyone has to sort of support. We as employers have to support our employees, but I think likewise the employees are determined to help their employer too. So I think that will help preserve businesses to a certain extent, but I think it's inevitable that in any downturn, in any crisis, and obviously this is of a magnitude none of us have seen before, but I think in any crisis, you do businesses and possibly weaker businesses just won't be able to survive the storm.
Yeah, yeah. Loss is a cancer, but cash flow is a heart attack, I think, isn't
Yeah.
it? So people will run out of cash. I do think the sort of domestic tourism bounce back will be interesting because people are probably not going to travel if we only get released, say, fully, maybe July, August, hopefully a bit of June. Then you're unlikely to be hopping on a plane. So you're right, probably out of the cities. Hopefully there'll be a bit of a positive bounce back. We talked about having 800 odd people furloughed. Are you doing anything? I'm sort of even conscious of my own team, and I've only got 100 people, but to keep them kind of interested and motivated, how are you managing sort of your relationship with them? Through your team, what contact is there, and has there been sort of any stuff put in place? I don't know whether it's training or any kind of methods of communication with them, or is it just a case of get back in touch further down the line?
Yeah, no, we're very much we want to keep the team engaged, and I think it's really important to us. And actually, I mean, you imagine a lot of our team, they're a long way from home. They're we have a good number of overseas workers working for us, and we're their family. So it's really important, and we're checking up on them and making sure that they and some of them it's not. Yeah, it's quite daunting. So so we have been, those individuals particularly, we've been sort of reaching out to them on a one-to-one basis. We still have an HR team in place. We still have general managers, and they are keeping touch. We've set up a great a Facebook page, a closed group for everybody, and it's called In This Together. And it's just, as I say, it's just for sharing stories. And we only launched it last week, and it's really sort of gathering momentum. And it's great. It's what people are doing at home. It's what's going on in the hotels. I put my son. My son, 16-year-old son, we bought some clippers, so he clipped my hair over the weekend. So we posted that as a video, and which got caused a lot of amusement. And that's the leap of faith of handing your 16-year-old son a pair of shearers, and so things like that, and that's probably been the best thing we've done. We are doing training, so we already have a sort of online training portal anyway, and that's even under the furlough scheme, that's perfectly acceptable for people to be doing training. So some of it is stuff that people didn't maybe normally have time for, and some of it's just extracurricular stuff. Some of it's new skills. And we've encouraged our team to do charitable work and do things in the community as well. And we're hearing about that. We haven't been able to support the NHS with rooms. Really, geographically, none of the hotels work particularly well for that. But certainly, we've encouraged our team members who aren't working at the moment to do what they can, and we've got some great stories of how they are, as I say, volunteering in all sorts of ways, or just helping their local community, or helping people in need. So yes, there's some really good stories floating around, and I think it's really important that we keep that the family spirit of Iconic running through this. And I think so far it seems everyone seems to be fairly positive, and touch wood, at the moment nobody yet seems to have been touched directly by the virus, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we do. But as I say, at the moment, thank God, everyone seems to be safe and well, which is great.
That's good. Who's orchestrating the sort of Facebook page and stuff like that? Is that your HR team, or is it the GMs, or?
Well, we've got. I suppose I instigated it. We've still got a lady. We've still got Lucy doing our marketing. So again, we felt that it was really important that throughout the crisis, we kept in touch with our guests generally. So first and foremost, her role was to make sure we're updating our website, making sure that the sort of newsletters and things that were already in the pipeline, that they get finished and written, making sure that we're pushing out good content on social media, because there's a vast, I guess the vast majority of the country have more time on their hands at the moment. They're at home and they're looking, and again, we're getting some really great feedback on what we're posting. We have we've changed the what we're sending out to be just more based around the stories that are happening now. So rather than about the usual sort of offers and packages and that sort of thing, it's very much about what we're all up to. So some of the content similar to that on our Facebook page. But everyone's got the reason we went for Facebook as a platform was so that everybody could contribute. So it's we've had all sorts of images of people's, as I say, cats and dogs and things things weird and wonderful things they're doing to occupy their time, and it's great. And it's just what's lovely is you get to know people on a completely different level, if that makes sense. And that's what's wonderful about this whole situation. I'm a sort of eternally a half full optimistic kind of guy. So I'm always, I'm always looking at for the good in every situation, and I'm quite philosophical about the good that will come out of this. And as I say, I always add at the end of that I'm sure maybe if I was on the NHS frontline at the moment, or if my business was, on the brink of going bust, then would I feel the same way? Possibly not. But as I say, I guess in the fortunate position that I think, we're going to be okay business wise, and at the moment, our teams are all safe and well. Then I can I think I can comfortably sit here and say, look, actually, I think some real good's going to come out of this. And even the way we're working already and still working, it's bizarrely how it's changed. It's changed. I already feel like it's changing things forever.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? What's your role at the moment then? Talking about sort of work changing, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis differently, I guess?
Yeah, well, I suppose I guess a lot of it is we've always been quite fortunate in that our businesses have been successful and continue to be successful. So we've never really had to worry about cash flow. So managing cash flow with our finance team is very much a daily task, and obviously working with the banks and trying to reforecast. I mean, forecasting is always a bit of a dark art at the best of times, but trying to forecast for the year end at this point in time is stretching sort of everyone's stretching the old grey matter. As we just touched on, you keep in touch with the teams and making sure that the people that aren't in the business, that we're in touch with them, but also the people that are. We have people, say we've got skeleton teams in the hotels. We've got a few people working from home at the moment in terms of our commercial team, as I just mentioned, Lucy in marketing. So we're making sure we're keeping in touch with them, and we're doing team Microsoft team meetings. So we're bizarrely, instead of sending people emails all the time, we're just hopping on our computers and having face-to-face meetings with people, which is far more productive. And as I say, that will, moving forward, that will be absolutely the way forward. I think it's going to change the way we work. I just say we're keeping in touch with our guests. So and obviously again, Lucy's driving that connection, but we're still getting phone calls, and people, the people are still phoning, and I'm part of the team who are answering the phone at the moment, which I haven't done for a long time. But it's so it's interesting, and some people clearly are actually, they're phoning for a reason, but really what they want is a bit of a chat. Other people are, they're wondering why their refund hasn't come in yet, and we have to sort of do that. But there's the sort of volume of activity still going on, and as I say, people, even through all of this, people are still booking future stays and events, and so that's all going on. But I suppose the most thing is planning for the reopening, and I think it's already we're thinking, right, what does reopening look like? What team do we need in place? How do we bring people back on board? What needs to happen? I suppose one of our frustrations at the moment is there's a million jobs we'd love to be doing while the hotels are empty and closed, and to a certain extent, our maintenance teams are doing some of that, but we've got a couple of guys in each of the hotels, so there's a limit to what they can do, and obviously we're trying not to spend any money either. So that's a little bit frustrating, but they are doing a good job. But as I say, what that reopening looks like is really this week's task, and to sort of try and imagine what that'll look like, and obviously you're modeling it on different scenarios, because in some respects it's it's unlikely to be just a flick of a switch and everything's back to normal. I'm sure there'll be some restrictions, certainly on social distancing or physical distancing, as we prefer it, that will impact initially. But as I say, so that is the main focus, and also thinking about what we can do, what things we need to do differently when we reopen. I think there's I think there's we've seen opportunities, and we spotted some of it's just creative stuff, some of it's efficiencies, as I say, some of it's down to the way we work and meet and communicate. So I think it's really important that I've got various lists on my desk, and we're making sure that we actually those become a reality. And I think it's really important that we use this to our advantage to come out of it and be different and be better and be stronger.
Yeah. Well, you sound like you're as busy as me. I don't think I've ever been busier, which is disappointing in some ways, because I want to make sure that I spend some time with my family and the kids, because they're going to remember this. But yeah, a lot of work going on for us at the moment, trying to work out how we reopen, what that looks like, when it might be. Obviously, we have a small hotel, but we're predominantly restaurants. And I'm thinking that in the same way the hospitality sector got hit really quickly and really hard in this, I think we're going to be in many ways the last to come out of it from a busy bar and restaurant perspective, because it doesn't feel like we'll just be able to go back to packing the bars, and on the beachfront in the summer we would normally be sort of 6 deep at the bar, people buying cocktails. So trying to do a cash flow forecast and then going to the bank for some support, as you say, it's a dark art, and I'm going on to a call on exactly that very shortly. You've mentioned the government support very positively, and we've had things like the sort of forfeiture moratorium around rents. We've had the furlough scheme, business rates. We've had loans. You're very well connected in the industry. I'm sure you're having lots of conversations. Is there anything else that's jumped out that you think they could be doing to support?
I don't really think there is, to be honest with you, at this point in time. And I think the challenge will be the how long bit, and I think that transition when furlough. I think that the interesting part, or the difficult part, will be when furlough expires, and then that transition to opening, and whether there'll be the sort of build up to opening will begin before furlough stops. I'm not sure, and I think that's the bit which is really going to sort of, I guess, could be the final straw for businesses, if there's a lag between furlough finishing and their business actually picking up to an extent where they can actually start supporting the staff again. And I think that's going to be the point of time where people, maybe there are going to be some redundancies, or some of the stuff that's been, I suppose the scheme was designed to prevent happening in the first place. So I think that's probably the bit that needs to be masterminded. But I know you interviewed Kate, and I think Kate Nichols at UK Hospitality has been amazing, and really, we get daily briefings from them. They've done some great webinars, and I think our industry unusually has benefited, probably as well as it should, if not more than most, because of Kate's work, and I think they were very quick to react, and were very proactive, and I do think we're very grateful for what they've done. And then I also, when I saw you also interviewed Mark Lewis as well, and Hospitality Action is a charity very close to our hearts. We support it. We've done various activity and cycles and all sorts of things to help generate funds for them. And we also we subscribe to their EAP, their employee scheme, which so I think they're there in the they're there in the background as well. Should and they're our team can phone. They have a helpline, and they do provide support if it's really needed. But I think mostly they provide a sort of helpline for anyone, and they can help talk them through. So we've got they're there as well. So I think there's I think there is a lot of support there for us and for our people, and I guess long may that continue.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that point of coming out, I think there's an inevitability that we're not going to come out again, probably even more so in the restaurant area, but then you'll be the same for sort of conferences, and your restaurant's obviously open to the public. And yeah, although the hotels may bounce back quicker, I think that's going to be a challenge, and therefore we're not going to need, the teams that we'd furloughed, we were coming into the summer, so we'd recruited, we were sort of maxed out team wise, training wise, ready for the summer. And if we open into a different world, yeah, we're not going to be able to afford to employ all of those people instantaneously. So yeah, I don't think you can sort of switch the furlough switch off instantaneously if the objective is to try and retain all those people. Mitch Thompson and I had a big chat about that on the podcast as well, because he's had people that he's worked for him for so many years that he's trained, and he really wants to keep and not to lose them, and knows the business can get back, but it's not going to be instantaneous. It's going to take some time. So if there can be some support to do that, that's got to be a help to get the economy back on its legs quicker, I guess. Well, look, I'm sort of conscious of time, Andrew. So thank you for joining me on this. It's fascinating to hear what's going on behind the scenes and how you're coping, and great to hear that you're still optimistic and positive. Are you still getting out and doing your runs and keeping your sort of personal sanity whilst all this chaos is going on around you?
Yeah, actually, probably even more than usual. Actually, I mean, again, one of the benefits of what's happening is I'm not. Ordinarily, I sort of travel all over the country, and that does often get in the way of exercise, and so I have more of a routine, and so I'm running every morning at the moment, and definitely feeling better for that. And as we've discussed before, that is that is my sanity, so I absolutely, and the good thing about going at 6 o'clock in the morning when I do, there's almost no one else out at that time, so I can do it, do so without feeling guilty.
Yeah, nice. Is that straight into the forest or into the coast, or?
Yeah, just around the coast. So as I said, I live in Leamington, so I go around the seawall, and I take my dog with me there. So we're enjoying that, and as I say, feeling the benefits of that, and again, long may that continue. But we definitely do want to get back to normal as soon as possible. I think it will be hopefully not too long.
Let's hope not. I tell you what, I will look forward to being able to pop out to Chewton Glen and join you for a beer on the terrace in the sunshine at some point over the summer, I hope, Andrew. But for now, thanks for joining me, and good luck in your plans and preparations to reopen.
Thank you. Good to talk again.
Okay, I very much hope you enjoyed that conversation with Andrew. I think Andrew is a very sort of calm and rational human being, and interesting just to hear about the implications on a larger business with the big hotels rather than just the restaurant groups. And hopefully, as Andrew says, they can come out the other side of this a little bit earlier. They've got plenty of space, and maybe they can open in some way, keeping some physical distancing going, but at the very least serving customers of the hotel in the restaurants. And it'll be interesting to see whether your standard sort of high street restaurants come out of this later potentially than some of these larger hotels with a little bit more space. So I guess we'll just watch this space. As always, if you can support the podcast via the humansofhospitality.co.uk website, if you go there, you can sign up to our weekly newsletter, and also click on the Patreon link if there's any way you can become a supporter and help keep us on the air. That would be hugely appreciated. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll catch up again soon.